Hey everybody, quick thing. For those of you who don't know, I'm the primary writer for Colin Moriarty over on his own YouTube channel. And this past summer, I wrote a more in-depth pre-launch Stadia script for him, as well as one about the failures of the Ouya. And I highly recommend checking those out if you ever have the time. They're very informative, and frankly, I'm just proud of how good those scripts are. So check them out and help ensure my job security by raising those view numbers. But no, really, they're really good videos that will shed more light on some of the things I kind of gloss over here. Anyways, thanks all, now on with this show.
Making my way downtown, walking fast, faces pass and I'm homebound.
Google is attempting to take a giant stride into the future with the release of Stadia, an exclusively streaming gaming platform. But that step forward has turned into a massive stumble as the technology is far from ready. With its Founders Edition now out in the wild, reviews have been rolling in, and it is not a pretty picture. IGN describes the launch as rocky. The Verge reveals Stadia 4K streaming lacks high-resolution textures. The site also describes the platform as unfinished, half-baked, and not fully thought out. And Wired reports that lag is a major issue, though perhaps no critique is as eloquently summed up as this GIF shared on Twitter by Gene Park of The Washington Post. Post-release, it's obvious that Stadia's marketing was a lie. Promised features didn't make it into the product at launch, and other marketed tidbits such as all games being playable in 4K has been proven false, which is ultimately a bad look for a platform that already had people worried. Since its reveal, there's been a hesitancy to trust in it due to data caps, its cost of admission, and latency fears, worries which have only been exacerbated by Google's attempts at PR. On the issue of latency, Vice President of Engineering Maj Bakar coined the term negative latency. This seems to be a technology in which games would predict whatever a player's next button input would be, an idea that completely breaks down when considering games in a 3D space where movement and actions can be totally random. I know I for one zigzag and sporadically jump and do a whole lot of other nonsensical movements when traveling a long distance. The notion of negative latency also raises a question as to potential delays if the predictive algorithm is wrong. If it thinks a player will jump but they instead turn a complete 180, will that only add to the latency and thus cause even more lag? Or, as it may have been the case with the Easy Allies, does the game just make the predictive move regardless? Here's Daniel Bloodsworth explaining one weird thing he encountered while spending a week with the new platform.
Weird moment I had is, and it was just one time, so I don't know if this is just a fluke or what, but I'm telling you, and it sounds crazy to me even to say it again. I walked up this ramp in Metro, and I got to the top, and then my character started mounting over the fence, and I'm like, why are you doing this? I did not push the A button. There's no way, like, mechanically, you cannot start doing that unless I've pushed the jump button. Why did you? So it's like, it makes me think that like this whole talk of like negative latency or whatever.
Yeah.
Is it's like when you're typing into your phone and starts
predicting
inputs, what. Yeah. And so like, oh, you wanted to jump over that, right? He's like, no, there's like a 20-foot drop. I don't want to jump over that.
That's an unsettling scenario considering latency is already a problem with the platform. Giant Bomb described playing Mortal Kombat 11 as feeling wrong due to the timing delay. Then there's been recorded delays with Destiny 2, as the GIF at the top of the video already shows. There's other problems with titles on the platform too. It was said all titles at launch would support 4K, but that has been proven to be complete shenanigans. Destiny 2 employs a different 4K version on Stadia and is instead an upscaled 1080p. Red Dead Redemption 2 also finds itself in a similar position, hence making them not 4K. Given its subscription setup, people are not getting what they're paying for. To play Stadia games in 4K resolution with 5.1 surround sound, a person needs a $10 a month pro subscription. 3 months of it were included with the Founders Edition, and understandably buyers are facing remorse as the platform utterly fails to meet their expectations. Though perhaps one of its biggest problems will come from data limits. When pressed about them, Vice President Phil Harrison expressed a belief that internet service providers would meet demands and raise them. A completely fucking laughable belief, as ISPs don't have a history of respecting their consumers' needs. To put this into perspective, 90% of Americans only have access to a single high-capacity provider. There is absolutely no competition between companies, and they just continually raise prices as to match the others. Mr. Harrison's belief that ISPs would have consumers' best interest at heart chart only shows how out of touch he and possibly the rest of Google actually is. Data caps are an extremely valid concern too, as 1 hour of Stadia play can eat up over 10 gigs. A not so reasonable ask considering internet in the United States is far from excellent. The 2018 Federal Communications Commission International Broadband Data Report reveals the country comes in 10th place when its broadband speeds are compared to other developed nations. At face value, that may not sound too bad, but when broken down, the simple fact of the matter is that our internet sucks. Not only do we pay exorbitantly high fees to gain access to the web, but the access is often subpar at best. For starters, very few households have access to fiber lines. To properly convey just how amazing fiber is, consider that one single filament of the synthetic glass is enough to carry over 3 billion phone calls. To break that down into more mentally manageable numbers, a fiber connection can download roughly 5 gigabytes of data in less than 30 seconds. The FCC labels high-speed internet access as 25 megabits per second, a speed that would take over 30 minutes to download the same 5 gigs. Also, quickly to interrupt my own script and video recording, there's a book called Fiber that is really quite good and is definitely an enlightening read if you want to learn more. Just don't confuse it with the other fiber that makes you poo, as I hear that book is a bit more messy. That joke sucked. Anyways, back on with this video. When digging deeper into America's internet, things only go from bad to worse. 53% of census blocks containing housing units have no access to an ISP offering speeds of 50 megabytes per second. Within rural areas, 58% have no access to speeds of 25. Things only get muddier from here due to what's called the one served, all served assumption. This is a loophole of sorts that allows ISPs to report to the FCC that a census block is served even if just a single location has certain access requirements. Needless to say, but a lot of Americans are underserved when it comes to quality internet access, and in areas where quality is decent, data caps are still a huge problem. The standard is 1 terabyte a month, but for some it drops to less than half that. With how entwined we are with the net, data caps are easy to break, too. Take a look at mine for the past few months. I'm given a terabyte a month, and I nearly hit it time and time again. If I was to stream games at 10 gigs an hour, I'd surely go over. And if you go over whatever the data cap is, extra fees pile on, something people already struggle with given our internet costs are already so high. Not so fun fact, roughly 95% of all internet fees are pure profit for the major ISPs. Outside of our bad internet, another concern, or better yet question, is who exactly is the Stadia for? On paper, it appears to be developed for gamers who cannot afford high-end gaming equipment or those who want to game on the go. But the current cost of admission, along with data caps and poor internet nationwide, runs counter to that notion. As of this very moment, if someone was to get on the Stadia bandwagon, they'd need to shell out $130, and unlike, say, the Xbox Games Pass, which offers loads of games to play in a Netflix-esque environment, Stadia titles must be purchased at full price. These are purely digital titles that cannot be downloaded and must be streamed, so one would be paying full price for an item they can't store and don't own in any sense of the word, nor can they play it offline. Given these roadblocks and considering how fees quickly add up, it's hard to imagine casual gamers jumping on board, or hardcore gamers switching platforms. There are some free titles being handed out, and early adopters have access to Destiny 2, but without crossplay, players are stuck in a Stadia-only environment, which will heavily limit the amount of people they can play with. Cross saves are available, so data can be imported between hardware setups, but for those who have already invested time and built friends lists on one platform, it makes no conceivable sense why they'd move to Stadia now. The service has a weak launch library to boot, and with the exception of just one exclusive title, all other games can be purchased and played elsewhere. The platform in its current form is simply not worth shelling out money for. Latency is clearly an issue, the pricing model is bunk, data caps are a real concern, and without fresh experiences, there's no reason to give up console, PC, or whatever. There is also a valid fear that this will all eventually be killed off by the company, as it doesn't exactly have a good track record of sticking with its products. It may be too early to tell, but I wouldn't be shocked if in a few years we look back on Stadia the same way we do the Ouya, two products with goofy names that weren't exactly ready for prime time and died. Speaking of its name, the name Stadia was chosen because Google wanted to convey the idea of bringing people together. What they meant was uniting everyone in an enjoyment of entertainment, but so far they've only united people in dunking on the company. I suppose they still have time to save face, and who knows, maybe Stadia has a future, but as of now, I wouldn't recommend investing money into it.
Face down, ass up, that's the way we like to fuck. Face down, ass up, that's the way we like to fuck.
As an independent content creator, I need all the help I can get to grow my channel, so if you like my work, please leave a thumbs up on this video, subscribe to my channel, maybe drop a comment below, join my Discord, and if you want to support what I do, please check the description for ways to donate.